Welcome to St. Petersburg Together. I'm your host, Janice Ford. St. Petersburg has a new curbside recycling program starting up. Joining us now to tell you what you need to know has been Shirley, Willie Joseph, and Jeff Donnel. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, what is the city's universal recycle curbside program? That's a mouthful. What is it? When does it start? And all of that.
Well, first of all, let's open up by saying that it's the biggest thing that have come through St. Pete in the last 25 to 30 years.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And it's a cultural change. And it is something that the city of St. Pete, the residents of St. Pete has wanted for some time. And it took, this is the fourth administration to get it done.
I didn't know that it took this long to
Right,
get it done.
it took just that long.
Wow.
And Matt Carson said from the very beginning, he would do curbside recycling, and it is here.
It sure is.
You're gonna have some few bumps. We started the deployment on the 4th of this month, and we are better than 50% through it. And to answer your question about what is universal curbside, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let the manager of curbside recycling and this analyst answer those questions for you.
All righty then.
Basically, Janice, what we have is it's universal curbside recycling, which means that we're going to be servicing the 95 container carts at the curb.
Okay.
What the citizens can expect is a packet such as this one. And inside this packet is going to have some information, helpful information. It has, let's take a look, it has the actual zones.
Okay.
From 1 through 8, as you see.
Okay.
The different colors based on the group A and B. And on the back side, each zone has its own individual calendar. So when the residents get their bins, they look at the packet, they can tell their actual collection start date.
Okay.
For instance, zone A1, which is gray, the first day of collection would be June 29th, which is on a Monday. Also in that packet, it has some tidbits as far as what to put in a container, what not to put in a container, as well as Waste Pro, which is our the subscription-based vendor that we're using. Will be ending actually the end of this month.
Okay.
So what we're telling everybody, if they could, since the start kickoff date is June 29th, if they could take it to one of our drop-off centers or either one of our brush sites, it'd be greatly appreciated between the time gap between once we start and once Waste Pro removes those containers.
So what you're saying is, so if, say, I got a container at my house and it's full right now, I'm supposed to take it somewhere before you pick up?
Well,
I'm sure that's going to be some kind.
well, what we're asking everybody is to be kind of proactive when it comes to using a container. We want you to use a container, but if we have some very serious recyclers, and we know that they've been recycling, they're doing their subscription now, and we know that Waste Pro is going to be removing those containers. So if we're asking them if they could just kind of, we got information on the back as far as the drop-off centers as well as the brush sites to drop that stuff off at.
Oh, all right, then. Well, we'll move on from there because that's kind of kind of. If I'm supposed to take it.
So basically, we're not telling them to take the 95-gallon barrel to the brush.
Right.
Bag,
like, I don't have a truck.
Right. You got a car in a bag or something like that. Take that.
Okay.
Drop off.
To the drop off side.
All right.
Not the car.
Okay. Now, and I'll get back to the regular questions, but one of the things that I want to know, and I have seen this already, is that there's regular trash people putting in these containers. Who sorts this stuff?
As far as the regular trash, well, to be frank with you, that trash needs to be removed.
Okay.
We can't do anything with it. Okay. And we're not going to have our residential trucks dumping those recycling containers. So we're asking all the citizens, if they do have any trash in those containers, please remove that trash and place the recyclable material that should be placed in those containers.
Okay. What is the additional charge for this? Because, there's been some misunderstandings about, it's supposed to be $25 more a month or what have you. So, you're hearing some really outrageous things. And one of the reasons why I really want to have you on the show is so that you could clear up some of these misgivings and mistakes about these rumors going around. So we want the actual information. What is the cost?
The cost is $2.95.
Can you say that again?
$2.95 per actual cost per month.
Okay. And that will be included in your regular?
Correct. It'll have its own individual line on your water bill.
Okay. Are they going, what about if you're collecting your regular trash from the alley, then the recyclable bin will be collected from the alley as well?
No. I'm going to let Jeff answer that one.
No. This is universal curbside recycling. So it's going to be all at the curbside all around the city. So currently, I think about 60% of the city take their solid waste trash to the curbside, and the other 40% get it collected in the alley. But for recycling, it's going to be all at the curbside.
Okay.
So those people who do it in the alley for their trash, they don't have a cart on wheels that they can take to the curb like they will for the recycling. And the reason we're not able to do it the same way, there's a few good reasons. First, many of the alleys around St. Petersburg are very small and already congested. So that we've already got the solid waste container, we've got fences that go all the way out to the property line, we've got overhanging power lines and cable lines and so on. So there's not really room for us to add a bunch of recycling containers there. And there's also a way for us to keep the cost down to that $2.95 by standardizing across the city. Helps us to keep that cost down.
What about if you got a lot of cars parked on your street?
Well, what we've got two ways that we can handle that.
Okay.
The first way is that usually in certain times of the day, people go to work. So a lot of times what the drivers would do, and this is on the waste side as well, is that they'll come through there when they know basically everybody's gone to work. And they can still dump those containers with the side loader. But there are areas whereby it's so congested whereby they're parking on both sides of the streets, and now you got a lot of people that's working from home. So what we've done is we've implemented a what we call a rear end loader truck, which has two servicemen. And what they'll do is they'll go up, get the container, bring it to the truck, dump it, and place it back to the property.
Okay. So we still have those types of
We still have those.
That's right.
Within the city.
I never see that anymore. Well, that's good to know. What if the recyclable bin is too full?
That's a good thing.
Okay.
And the reason why I say it's a good thing, because that means that that person is really recycling. And that's what we really want, is someone that's really recycling like that. And what we would do is we would want them to give us a call, that same 893-7838 number. Give us a call and say, hey, you know what? My container is every other week collection, but I'm filling up the container. What can I do? We'll gladly issue them another container.
Okay. Now, what about folk who not necessarily know whether this is recyclable or if it's garbage? Do they call that same number?
Well, that's one option, but we do have a couple other things. So part of on the container, there's going to be information about what's recyclable and what's not. We're also going to have some software that we're going to link to from our website that will have a couple of features, and one of them is a way to determine if something is recyclable or not. Can I put it in the bin, or do I have to take it to a special drop-off center, like if it's paint or something like that? So all that information will be there. And as also part of that software we're going to link to, there's a service reminder feature, which I think people might really enjoy. Since it's only going to be every other week, people are busy and you can't remember, is my recycling this week or is it next week? You can set it up so that you can receive a text or an email or something the night before to remind you, put my recycling out tomorrow. Or you can receive it the morning of, or how you can set it up however you might want to receive that reminder.
Okay, so it's not necessarily collected on the same day as your garbage.
It will specifically not be collected on the same day as your garbage.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now we do garbage twice a week.
Right.
So if your garbage is being collected on, say, Monday and Thursday, your recycling will be either Tuesday or Friday. Okay. And that way we don't have all of the containers out at the same time and multiple trucks coming down the street at the same day.
Yeah,
so we'll offset them. Yeah, so we'll offset it.
Yeah, I can I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, this is only offered to residential homes, right?
Residential and 4 units or less is what we're offering to now for our first phase.
Okay, the residential 4 units or less. Explain that.
Multi-families, 4 units or less are part of the first initiation as far as the deployment of the containers in single-family residences.
Okay. What if I forget to put it out? Who do I call?
Shame on you.
Yeah. You do know that there will probably be a lot of people who,
it will.
Because, there's going to be a lot of, quirks going to have to straighten out until people get used to doing this.
Correct.
So if I forget about it, and who do I call and say, oops?
Once again, it'll be that 893-7838 number, and we have ladies that's manning the phones that you can call and say, hey, you know what, I forgot to place my container out, and they'll gladly take your address, and we'll send a truck out and take care of it for you.
Okay, so you have, did you have to hire anybody new to man those phones?
Actually, we hired 16 new employees, including Jeff.
Okay.
He's part of our Analyst. He's doing the numbers.
Okay, so you haven't always been in sanitation?
Nope, I joined specifically to help kick off this recycling program and be part of what's going to be a great recycling program. I think people around Tampa Bay are a little surprised when they hear that St. Petersburg doesn't have a universal recycling program already in place.
Yeah,
so I joined specifically for this program, and I'm going to help with some of the data that's going to be coming in as part of this program. We have a feature that's going to help us know by neighborhood or by council district, by down to specific blocks, how many people are participating. And that way we can try and encourage people through some marketing and education efforts to bring those participation rates up over time. And the data that we're going to be collecting will help us with the limited resources we have available. We don't want to spend that on a neighborhood that's already recycling at a very high rate. So that way we'll know where to focus those kind of education and awareness programs as we move forward, trying to increase the participation.
Are you new to the city, or are you just coming from another department?
I'm new to the city.
Really?
I just started about a month and a half ago.
Okay, you look very familiar. I thought maybe you were always with. So 16 new people.
16 new people.
Wow, and they're full time?
Full time.
Okay.
That's another thing from this program first brought out that the mayor wanted to do it in-house and have full-time jobs with benefits.
Oh, okay. That's a great thing.
Right.
And those new jobs are likely to extend outside of the city as well, because St. Petersburg is such a large amount of recycling that we expect to be picking up. There will probably be additional positions that are going to be at the processor, where we're going to take the recycling. In order for them to handle the increased volume, they're likely to have new jobs there as well.
Okay. Why are recycling containers being placed at inactive locations?
Well, Janice, one of the reasons is that with UA, I think there's estimated anywhere from 100 to 500 during the course of a week are active and inactive. So it jumps back and forth and back and forth. So with the vendor, it's a lot easier for us to go ahead and have those containers delivered now, because within a week or so, that account is going to become active. So the can's already there, and we don't have to worry about sending crews and spending more money to send those, deliver those containers.
Okay. So some homes or what have you stay vacant for long periods of time. So you have a container that's sitting there in a vacant home, for all that time.
Now, if it's a vacant home, that's something different, because we've got vacant homes, we've got boarded up homes, and the vendor has been instructed not to deliver those containers to those properties.
So, inactive locations, what does that mean?
Inactive is something as simple as someone moving out today and moving into another property somewhere else in the city.
Okay.
So basically, you've left that address and moved to another one, and of course, as you know, somebody's going to move into that property. So it's kind of a domino effect.
Okay. All right, I can understand that. What options are available to businesses for recycling?
The businesses, right now, that's going to be part of our second phase.
So there are phases?
There are phases.
How many?
Ben, how many phases?
Well, basically, actually, this is the first phase, and your business and multi-family complexes, that will be, you could say, the second and the third phase, because they have a unique dynamic all to themselves.
Okay.
Because first of all, you have to go out to a business and see if they have room for a container to go.
Okay. Will those containers be larger than the residential ones?
It depends on
the business.
The business.
Okay.
And you have to make sure that you're not taking up a designed parking space or handicap space, because each business is designated so many parking spaces.
Right.
So we would have to do a study on that.
Okay.
And the same as the apartment, large apartment complexes, they do the same thing.
Right.
So that's, as well bad as this may seem, that's going to be a little difficult.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a whole nother ball game there.
So,
because if you're doing front collections, that will, there's a lot of probably kinks to be worked out before that's settled.
But this one here, the single family, it's definitely going to be just curbside, and it's going to take us a while to see how that is going, and probably I'm not going to give a date to it because we don't know exactly when we're going to do that, but it will be the second and third phase that we go into with that.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you're probably going to get a lot of questions about, well, what are you all going to do with the money generated from the recyclables? Will any of that be used to offset the cost to residents? And
it'll be used to offset the cost for the operation of the program.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you know that's coming, right?
Oh yeah. We have been from the 4th of this month. We had been getting calls like you wouldn't believe. I'm talking about, you'll be surprised. You wouldn't think the calls that we have been getting. The people of St. Pete was that mean. But it's. So
we know why you had to hire 16 new people just to man the phone.
Yes, the number of calls almost doubled. Wow. From the time before, really. So
because I can imagine you already get a lot of calls. But
we do get calls. We probably somewhere close to. And last month it was maybe 5,000 calls over the previous month. Wow. And the last 3 weeks, it was averaging anywhere from 300 to 400 calls a day. Wow. And it was all had some choice words.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine. But I'm sure eventually it will all
it's a culture
blow
change.
over.
It's
of
a
course,
culture change.
it is.
And
it is.
Basically, we somewhat suspected
Right.
it, but as they come home and they get used to the blue, the blue is the new green now. So
Okay.
And the good news is that we have been getting a few calls, and some people are upset. They, it was a surprise. They didn't know it was even going to be there. They came home from work and there was a container.
Right.
They had to figure out what was going on. But we've put already more than 50,000 out in the city, with still about 28,000 more to go. So as many calls are coming in, there is a vast amount more who are happy it's there, that we haven't heard from, that are excited just as we are about having a recycling program like this in St. Pete.
What is the primary goal and objectives for this recycling program?
Well, the main thing is we're trying to move as much recycling material out of the landfill or the incinerator, which is where that material is ending up right now if somebody's not part of the subscription recycling program.
Right.
So over time, we want to move as much weight as possible away from that solid waste stream, from going to a landfill or incinerator into the recycling program, where it can be, we're going to take it out to a third-party processor. They're going to separate it, break it down, and all those different components can be sold off. The glass, the plastic, the paper, the aluminum, all of those things can be reprocessed and reused back into our normal lives.
Right. Now, when people are putting in their plastic and their glass and what have you, are they supposed to rinse out the bottles, or you don't want half bottles of Coke or Sprite or what have you,
That's
or,
right,
or
yeah.
wine, or
especially wine.
still left in the bottle?
Yes, and there's a couple of good reasons for that. From the recycling side, the processor doesn't want to have that half full jar of peanut butter in there. So if it can be emptied out, and then we don't need to waste a lot of water, a quick rinse of something is usually going to be good enough. The second good reason is we only pick up every 2 weeks, which means that tuna can that you throw in, if you haven't rinsed it out, might be kind of ripe a week and a half from now in Florida heat. So there's a couple good reasons for that. It doesn't need to use a lot of water, just a quick rinse is plenty.
But you do know that you're going to be getting that, right?
Yeah, and the processor understands that as well. From our standpoint, from the city standpoint, the cleaner and the purest recycling is worth more to us as a city. We're going to get more money from that. The processor is going to look at the material that we give to them, and if it has mostly recyclable material, but it also has some trash and some palm fronds and some other things that are mixed in there that shouldn't be, then he's going to be paying us less for what we take to him. So we're going to try and educate people about what to put in and what not to put in, and that makes it more valuable to us as a city as well.
So you had there are people out there who've already been big into recycling already, and they take their own recyclable. Before this happened, they take it to the location themselves.
Well, we had Waste Pro, which was a subscription base. We had a total of, I believe, 8,000 that basically was part of the subscription base. And we also had, we have some citizens that do go to the drop-off centers. Some that drops the recyclables off to the churches, schools, so different organizations. So you got a mixture of both.
Okay. So this is going to come up that if I'm already doing it myself, why do I have to pay the additional money in order to the city to do it for me?
Well, it's the right thing to do.
Of course it is.
And
There'll be 5,000 more calls.
Oh yeah, we've been getting those calls all along. But see, the thing that you have to understand, and we understand about it, say it's a cultural change. But the next thing is, if they look around the state of Florida, all across the nation, almost every major city, some smaller cities, have curbside recycling, and even with the subscription base, we only got 8,000, say, that. And hopefully that's why we named it Universal Curbside, and for the whole entire city. And you can put this single stream, and we take all the headache for the most part out of recycling.
Okay.
And it's cheaper than the subscription service too.
Oh,
Right.
okay. That's always a good thing.
That's right.
Okay, so you do have some residents out there, I'm thinking they're either, the elderly or someone who have different type of medical problems where they can't even get their regular trash out to the curb. How do you assist with those people?
We have what we call a disabled tub out service.
Okay.
And that's provided on the wayside currently now. And basically everybody that's on that disabled tub out list now on the wayside would be transferred over to the recycling as well. And for those who have the alley service that never had to roll that container out, all they would have to do is to basically contact a doctor, basically stating that they're unable to roll that container to the curb, send that in to us, and we'll take care of it. We'll have somebody go and pick the container up from the house, bring it to the truck, dump it, and take it back.
Okay, so let's have that website address again for people to get more information about the curbside recycling.
That's going to be www.stpete.org/recycle.
Okay. Phone numbers?
893-7838.
That's not your personal number for your
No,
desk.
that's
Is there anything else? Have we covered everything? Is there any additional information you want to add before our time's up?
Well, one thing, to this date, we did all 8 council districts, outreach and education program. We did the Saturday morning market. We did that about 3 times. Right. I think we have did a total of about 16 outreach. The African Fest down to Walmart, and it's gonna be pretty much, if not a weekly, it's gonna be an every week thing. A weekly, every other week, a couple times a month. We're gonna continue to do this.
All right. Well, I will certainly, I do a few events a year, so I would definitely make sure that you all have a booth set up so you could disseminate information about this program, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who still need more information, and you're going to probably continue to get those questions and those phone calls, and we're certainly hoping that this will be a successful program. I'm very excited about it. I mean, mine is halfway filled already. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know that this was coming down, but I didn't know that it had taken this long for us to start it.
Oh yes,
that is just incredible.
A long time coming, but it's going to be a great program that the citizens of St. Pete can be very proud of once we get it up and running.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Here's where you can find more information about the Curbside Recycling Program. I'm Janice Ford. Thanks for watching St. Pete Together.